Hey guys, welcome back to another video with Underground Virtuosos. My name is Paul. I'm a violin viola teacher located here in San Diego, California. So today we're going to be continuing the topic of left hand setup. Specifically, we're going to be diving into the fingers that we use to play different notes. Okay, so let's get started. If you have your instrument with me, with you, go ahead and grab it and you can do it with me. Now, I divided the left hand, the fingers into three topics for today, three sections. So the first one is going to be the height of the fingers. Okay, so what we're going to do is just going to get into playing position. Make sure you have a relaxed wrist from the previous video. Okay, and then get a nice 1, 2, 3, and 4 down on the string setup. Okay, now if those of you that maybe find your fingers to not work in your favor right now, it doesn't feel comfortable when you do that, the first thing you can look at is how high or how low these fingers are, and that can be adjusted by moving your hand slightly higher if you feel like they're too low, especially if your pinky is having a hard time getting that pinky down onto the fourth tape. Then make sure that you are maybe moving your hand slightly higher, giving it a little bit more room to work with. If you feel like your fingers are too tall and it feels like you're almost tiptoeing, it doesn't feel very comfortable, especially if you have fingers like mine where there's not a lot of area because my fingers are kind of long and thin and there's just not a lot of areas near the tip. I tend to have to play near the pad a little bit more. It doesn't mean that I go into a collapsed finger position. It still means that I am tall. However, I'm just playing with the pad area a little bit more. So it kind of depends a little bit on you. And so go ahead and put down 1, 2, 3, 4, and just see how comfortable it is. You can leave the fingers down, and then what you want to do is you want to move a little lower. You want to move a little higher. The highest I would go for the side of the index finger here is right up to where your knuckle is. I wouldn't go past the knuckle, okay, because then that would be way too high. So I would go up to where the knuckle is, that's the highest, but you basically could use from here, this knuckle area, to the middle between the knuckle and the first joint. Okay, so you have the knuckle all the way to the first joint. Otherwise, if you go too high, then your first finger won't be able to play very comfortably, and that also probably means that your pinky will have a harder time too. So find something that works for you, a little higher, a little lower, just to kind of see. These adjustments are very small, so don't don't stress too much over it. If you already have a good setup, you don't have to worry about it. Okay, now let's talk about the second thing, which I brought up briefly, and that is the fingers sizes and lengths that can play a big role into your left hand setup as well. So for me personally, I have longer fingers and they're thinner, and so because they're thinner, the tip doesn't have very much area, so I cannot play kind of like this. I can't play too much like that because then my nails would easily be able to hit and touch the string when I'm playing, and we don't want that. So make sure that you are getting just a nice setup where your fingers are not too round. Okay, all right. So something like this for me instead of this, because that would be very easily have the nail touching the string. Okay. If you have, I would say, if you have thicker fingers, then you probably could have a little bit more taller fingers, and yeah. So like watch different players out there that perform, and you will see they all have different setup, and some of them play with maybe slightly taller, some of them play with slightly brought back using more of the pad area. And I would say for you violin players, most likely you will be on the taller side, and for the viola players, most likely you will be on the more padded side because of the length of the instrument. The string length of the instrument is a little bit longer, so the fingers are a little bit more spread, and that would be the case. Okay, and now last but not least, we're going to talk about the pinky. And the reason I'm bringing up pinky alone is because pinky is a finger that is, I would say most people define it as the weakest finger, as the one that struggles with the most when we are playing. And so we're going to talk about this separately. All right. So the pinky here, if you go into playing position and you just hold it, first thing I want you to notice is the pinky making any clearance. So if you put your pinky down on, let's say, the E string, oh sorry, not the E string, the A string on the violin, or maybe like the D string on the viola, and what you're going to be paying attention to is it touching the E string, or in this case, A string for the violas too as well. Is it touching the string on the right? If it is, you have to make sure that you do get a nice clearance from that. Okay, it would not be ideal for us to be playing with the pinky and touching a different string, because eventually you will probably learn something like double stops, where you play two notes at the same time. And if your pinky is touching a different string when you're using it, then you're not going to hear that other string sound that you're supposed to hear. You're just going to hear your pinky touching the other string. So try to get a clearance. Now, the way to get a clearance is not the same for everybody. If you have a very, very long pinky, that would be very cool for you, very nice for you, because you would be able to play with slightly taller pinky, slightly more rounded. It's a rare case though. You don't see it often from players that have a super rounded pinky. Okay, so make sure that you do have somewhat of a clearance though. And most players that I see, including myself, the joint that is in between the knuckle and the first one, though, so the second one here, most of the players do have this on the straight side, so in a way flat side, and then this joint that is closest to the nail would be round. So if I put it into perspective, it would look something like this. Okay, as you can see, it is first joint is making the clearance, but the second joint cannot be too round, because I do need to be able to get to the position I'm trying to get to. If I play with the pinky super rounded, then my other fingers don't feel very comfortable, and my hand position, as you can see, all moved. So it kind of depends on the type of fingers and hand that you have. Okay, and last but not least, this is important. I see this often from students when they are learning how to use pinky. Okay, please don't play with your pinky like this. Okay, if you are putting the pinky down and then you're using what I call the back side of the pinky, okay, where your pinky is all of a sudden curved this way instead of something more like this, a diagonal. Okay, if it's curved this way, and then you can literally see that the tip of your finger is actually not even in front of the finger itself. The finger is ahead of the tip. You can see that right here. So try not to have this because that kind of shows that your pinky isn't developed yet, in the sense that it's not strong enough yet to be doing this movement. And so you should be practicing a little bit of finger articulation in order to strengthen the pinky, which will be in a different video. But for today, just a little something for you to notice. Okay, so if you are a student, usually this happens in middle school and high school-ish. If you're learning the instrument and you're a beginner at it, then that would be something that you might notice. So make sure a little bit more diagonal. Like normally we have our fingers like this. We don't. No. So just whatever that is natural, right? And then you're gonna do your best to imitate that natural feeling into your left hand. Okay, so yep, that's it for this video. In the next one, we will be talking about thumb position and the rule of thumb. Because there are a different couple, maybe like 3 different type of thumb setups that I know of, and who knows, maybe one of them will help you out and maybe change how you play. Okay, so with that, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any suggestions or videos that you would like me to make, please drop it down in the comments, and also please subscribe. Yeah, and until then, I'll see you guys next time.